Hey, this is Shark Nice, and I'm showing SharkyRLMatrixTraining. And it's kind of, at this point, it's basically a proof of concept on how you can use advanced reinforcement learning for StarCraft 2 unit micro using C .NET, the Sharky framework, um, and RLMatrix. And these both use C#. And so basically all you need to do is you need StarCraft 2 installed. If you haven't done that already, you basically make sure you install the 64-bit version, which is default. Launch it, make sure it works. Then you clone this repo, the Sharky RL Matrix Training. And then in this repo, we have this maps folder. And basically you need to copy this micro training map into your StarCraft 2 maps folder, which I have instructions here on number 3. And then an optional thing you can do is run the RLMatrix dashboard, and it'll display the training in your web browser, so you can track that. And then basically all you need to do is build and run Sharky RLMatrixTraining. It'll launch StarCraft 2 and begin training, and then if you have this dashboard running, you can refresh your browser and connect to that, and it'll show you all the graphs and stuff like that. So basically the default setup is I have it set to train a stalker to kite against a Zerg roach. It should maximize firing rate and distance from the roach. So basically, I'll show that now, kind of explain it. So here's the RL matrix, and I have the dashboard set as the default project to launch. So if I run this, it'll launch my web browser. Once we start running our training, I can select it from a drop down here. So here's the repo, and if we click run here, it opens up a console, and it has some debug stuff here that we can look at. So here it launched StarCraft 2, and it starts the training with our stalker against a roach. So if I refresh this page, now I can select our experiment, and it'll add a couple more graphs here as more stuff happens. But basically, here's the game. It's running, faster than it actually plays in real life to just train at max speed. So if I can slow it down to like real game speed. So basically, we have this stalker here, and we want it to kill this roach. And we want the stalker to live with as many, hit points and shields. And you can see here it has a maximum of 80 shields and 80 health. And we want it to have, as much of that left over as possible. So that's kind of what we're training for. So it's doing that right now. If you didn't actually, micro the stalker at all, it'd probably end up with, I think, like 40 health or something. But if you were, if you microed it perfectly against this AI, I guess you could, in theory, have 80 shield and 80 health. But ideally, you at least want your shield to be left over. So let's go back to max speed. Here we're in this console. I just kind of debugged like how much health and shield we have left over after we kill the roach, or if we lost it would say lost and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. And I've run this for like 10 minutes, and usually ends up learning well enough to kite where it will end up with full shields and health at the very end. And here's, some graphs going on. So basically, the setup for this, it's pretty simple. You can just clone this repo or whatever, and then change it to how you want. Right now I have, you set your units, you set the enemy units. I have it set to 1 stalker and 1 roach, but you can set it to like any combination of different units you have. You could, have 10 carriers, 5 stalkers against, a bunch of zerglings, a bunch of roaches, and all that stuff. And then we start our environment here, and I have it running. This is every 3 StarCraft frames, but you could set it to run every 1 if you want. It'll take longer to train, of course, the more you do. And if you set this number too high, you wouldn't be microing as much as you could, stuff like that. So inside of our environment, right now, since this is kind of a proof of concept thing, I'm basically giving it two options that it can do. And that's basically either attack the roach or kite away. And then for the observations that I'm sending to it, I'm giving it the like weapon cooldown of the stalker, which if it's at 0, that's bad because it can shoot. So you always want that to be, not 0. And then I'm sending it the distance to this roach because it needs to know, how far away it is. And then also the velocity of the roach. So like if the roach is running away, you see it's running away sometimes, we want to treat that differently than if it's running at you because you have to run towards it to catch up to it to shoot it, So then the rewards that we're giving it like the end reward is, how much health and shield the stalker has. And then cooldown reward, if the cooldown is at 0, that means you didn't shoot and you should have been shooting. So we give 0 for that. But if it's not at 0, we're giving a reward for that. And then the kite reward is basically the distance away from the roach. Like the more distance, the better the reward. So it's learning to balance these two out for the most part to maximize this reward. And yeah, that's basically it. I have like a whole bunch of, things that we can add in the future. This is just like bare minimum so far, but eventually the goal is to like, once I prove training one unit works really well, I want to train, multiple units at once, stuff like that, and get it working so I can use it on the micro arena ladder. And maybe maybe for full StarCraft 2 games too. So yeah, that's basically it. You can play around with it if you want and, fork it, and let's see what we can do with it. Have a great day.